La Crescia di Pasqua is a fluffy, cheesy bread traditionally used to break the fast for Lent on Easter morning. And while this bread is now typically eaten both in Umbria and Marche, the origins of the Crescia, or Pizza di Pasqua as we call in Umbria, is actually from Ancona. This recipe has medieval roots, and tradition has it that it was first made by the nuns at Santa Maria Maddalena at Serra dei Conti, which is near Ancona in the region of Marche. And the word Crescia, which means growth, reflects the long rising process that the dough would have and the slow rise that is needed. While back in the day this used to be days-long process where the dough would rise overnight and then cooked in a wooden fire, we don't have all that time here or a wooden fire, so we're gonna make a much quicker and easier recipe, but equally amazing. And for the ingredients we have 100 grams of Parmigiano and 100 grams of Pecorino Romano, 4 eggs, they need to be room temperature and fresh, 40 grams of extra virgin olive oil. We're gonna have a mix of cheese, you can use whatever cheese you like, but we're gonna have 60 grams of Pecorino Romano and 60 grams of Emmental. Then we got 50 grams of dry yeast, which we're gonna mix with half a cup of water, and 300 grams of bread flour. We start off with the yeast, with tepid water, and we let this bloom. Then in the bowl of the mixture, we're gonna add our flour, a couple of pinches of salt, not too much because the cheese is already pretty salty. We add the extra virgin olive oil, and our 4 eggs. We start mixing this low speed, and while that's going, we get to cut the cheese. For the cheese, try to make into small little cubes, because the cheese will impede some of the rise from the dough. So you want them small enough so that they spread across the dough. And also, you don't really have to be super precise, because it's actually quite nice to have small pieces and slightly large pieces. Similar with the pecorino, and here we can make some bigger ones and some smaller ones. So we have a mixture of sizes. We can add our yeast. To our mixture we add our cheese. And off it goes again. And now we add the rest of the cheese. And we mix. Ideally what you want is a round high mold, like the ones you would use for panettone, which we don't have. So we're gonna do it in a pot. So we're gonna start off by buttering the pot. And this is very important. You don't want all your hard work to stick on this. So all the way to the top, because this is gonna go higher than the rest. To make this as a kid, my role was to make sure that it was all buttered up. And then I would lick my fingers. Be extra sure. We made a circle out of some parchment paper. So at this point, this is still pretty sticky. And this is when a bench scraper really comes in handy. So with the bench scraper, we make sure that we take everything from the side and we try to make it into as much of a bowl as possible. So our bowl is perfectly clean and the last bit of our dough goes inside. Now you can try with the bench scraper to flatten it. This will of course even out as it raises. Our Pizza di Pasqua has been resting for 2.5 hours. And we're gonna put it into the preheated oven at 170 degrees Celsius. 40 minutes of cooking. We take it out, let it cool down a few minutes. And we turn it. Before we cut it to make sure it tastes absolutely delicious, let me say one thing. I would have liked it to be a little bit more dome-like. And the reason why it's not is because we let it rise for too long. So when the dough rises up, you need to make sure that you put it in the oven while still in the upward motion. So that once you put it in the oven, it finishes off going up and it creates that dome-like shape. In our case, the kids just came back from school, they had to wash their hands, blah, 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 blah. We lost half an hour, so we put it in the oven as it was slowly going down again. And this is the shape, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm sure it's gonna taste amazing, so let's try it out. It looks very fluffy. So how and when do we eat this? We eat this on Easter morning. Just imagine this. You've been fasting for 40 days, you're starving, and in Italy we have a spread of food. We got boiled eggs, we got cured meats, we got the pizza salata, we've got the colomba, we got a bunch of nice things. So we take a piece of pizza, We can put some culatello on it, some salame, and then we do this. It's so good. Absolutely amazing. The best way of breaking the fast. And I'm gonna give a big thanks to Patrizia for letting me do these recipes for the video. Of course, this is not the original recipe, that takes a long time, but this is an amazing way of getting a pizza di Pasqua or a Crescia in just over 2.5 hours. So this Easter, go try it out, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. Buon appetito.